Cancel.
Schweezy.
Wouldn't the snake in Adam and Eve be the good guy who freed them and gave them self-awareness? They didn't even know they were naked and had no worldly knowledge, unable to pursue any type of growth would have left them stunted. In other words, they were mindless, simple pets until the snake convinced them to eat from the fruit and instantly became self-aware. Yeah, that is very much a good example of the flaws in that story. There's so many fucking flaws in that Adam and Eve story where the best course of answer I would ever give to anyone, I don't care what you believe, is that story in Adam. If you believe in that stuff or if you don't. If you don't believe in it, just, understand there's plot holes in it and it doesn't make sense. But if you do, the advice I give, I'm like, it's probably not a literary text. I believe a lot of Genesis is poetry and in at least in some sense a form of poetry. So yeah, when you read it or interpret it as literal, which the Bible, a lot of the Bible was not meant to be read that way. FYI, we do that because we don't like gay. Some people don't like gay people, and I have to do it.
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered.
So, yeah, there's just so many flaws in the Adam and Eve story. One is that there are clearly animals that were made to eat other animals, and the fact that in this Garden of Eden that is spoken of, but you just pick fruit off the tree. That's all you had to do for food. I'm like, I don't know what that seems weird. Okay, that's weird. That's suspicious. And also, another flaw in the story is I'm like, okay, God created the earth, 6 days, rest of the seventh day, yada, yada, yada. And he created Adam and yada, yada. And he let Adam live in paradise. Okay. However, though, there's one tree with fruit on it that if you eat that fruit, you will be kicked out and be forced to suffer for the rest of your life. But God created the earth, so why would God put that tree there to begin with, if he didn't want us to go towards it? It's kind of like there's a test. I remember I saw some parents of kids do it. It's basically the idea of is you put candy on a table, maybe like M&Ms or something, and then leave your kid with it. Then you walk away, but the camera's rolling and see if your kid eats the candy or not. It's kind of a test of your children. It's not it's just goofing around or wherever. I just saw a video of it, but yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like, oh, you're leaving the candy there to tempt the children. And the kids are going to want to eat it. And, you do obviously let them eat it afterwards, obviously. But it's kind of like a test, will my kid eat it or will they not eat it? If I just leave the room and just leave them with it. So, very interesting. Because if God created the earth and created everything, it means he created that specific tree with that specific fruit. Meaning he, at least at some point, wanted humans to go towards it and stuff like that. And wanted them to eat from it and wanted them to fail. And stuff like that, yeah. So, and if you read it in a certain context, it's like saying Mario is actually the villain, of all the Mario games, where, Bowser's just wanting to marry the princess and stuff like that, and then Mario comes and harasses him, stuff like that. But clearly that's not the case because the story's read from Mario being the good guy and Bowser's being the bad guy, because those are what Mario games. It's simple. They're kids games that adults like me play. And I think, yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, the serpent was trying to help them, and it sounds like God was trying to manipulate them. It's almost like it's really cult-like, the unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, she lived in a bunker for so long, we can't go into the outside world. And what happens if you go in the outside world? You die. So they're just living in this sheltered and mind controlled state. There's a lot of problems. So yeah, I guess if you read the story in a certain context, yeah, it does sound like the serpent or the snake or the lizard or however you want to interpret the story really does, yeah, come down to the perspective of it. If you're reading from God's perspective, he's like, I made this. I also made this tree, but you can't eat from it. You can't eat from it, or you'll have knowledge. I'm like, Okay. Like, like you start poking holes in the story, and then, if you read it as like I like to read it as more like a metaphorical context. That's how the end of my Christian days, that's how I kind of interpreted it, where it's like, man was once good with God, but then we fell away from God and fell away from him as we gained knowledge, and we learned good and we learned evil, that's we strayed away from there because like we were once innocent, and then once we learned things, we changed from them. That's the way I interpret it, but everyone's different. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. So yeah, when you read the story of Adam and Eve, it's just, yeah, I've never been able to get over. I'm like, but why would God just not just don't, like, if the tree's gonna cause a problem, then remove the tree. Like, okay, if you have a tree in your backyard, and you're like, the thing is with this tree, if you live 30 feet away from this tree, and say you just have a small backyard, a small home, that's the case, then you would probably just remove the tree. Like, why didn't you just? It's just like there's so many plot holes in the story, and that's called, once you start thinking about that, that's called deconstruction. So there's a lot bigger rabbit hole you can get down to if you're more interested in deconstruction.
Thank you for watching this clip. Watch it again or watch something else. We got more clips and full episodes too. If you like what you watched, share with everyone you know. Subscribe to, ring the bell and come back soon, and you'll get to hear me say thank you for watching this clip.